Hello and welcome to How to Win Your Day. We're over the next few days, we're going to take you down a path to figure out exactly what is right for you.
That's right. Yep. We're excited to be here with you guys. Many of you might know us, and we'll get into this a little bit more about our backgrounds for you that don't know us. But really, these 3 days, we're going to cover really the what, the why, and the way. And it's exactly what it sounds like. What do you really want? Why do you want it? And then most importantly is the way. How are you actually going to achieve what it is that you really want to achieve? And what you're going to learn from us may be very different from some of the previous things that you've heard in personal development. To give you guys a little background for the people that don't know us, we got over 22 years combined working in the personal development industry. We have helped millions of people. We worked with arguably one of the best teachers in the world at success and human potential. And on the individual level, we have worked with thousands of clients throughout the years, helping them, not just improve their results, but improve their way of thinking. And specifically over the last 17 months or so, Kelly and I have taken a deep dive into the research as far as what actually works. So what actually helps people create results? Because a lot of what we had been seeing in the industry is, we would work with so many people that had this strong desire to make a massive change in their life and get something that they really wanted. But we had so many people that weren't getting the results. And this kind of led us down the path to asking ourselves, well, why? Why are some winning at a very high level? And why are the majority not winning? And in some cases, the personal development would actually be more harmful than good because, it would knock down their self-image and their self-esteem because they weren't getting the results and, maybe some other people were.
Chris, you and I love this topic. We've been in this industry for a very long time, and so we not only attend seminars, but we buy all the books, we read them, we talk about this with our inner circles, and we spend a lot of our days on this topic. And a long time ago, you and I started to really dive deep into why do some people have success, because it's not that they don't want to be successful. It's not even that they're not trying to be successful. They're just not. And so we grappled with that question. Why are some people able to take the material and apply it and be successful, but a large majority couldn't, which really led us into really discovering a lot of different reasons. And some people fall into a couple of categories. Some people fall into maybe one. Maybe there was one reason they weren't successful. But we were fascinated by the percentage of efforts that fail. And this is a research-backed percentage. This isn't a number we pulled out of air. But why do so many people spend so much time and money on personal and professional development, yet they're really not seeing the results they want?
That's right. And I was, in some ways, I was very surprised to see the 96%. And in other ways, I actually wasn't all that surprised. And again, this 96% actually came from a research study of people that had gone through different personal development programs, seminars, workshops, all these different things. But again, not seeing the real tangible results. And, from my background and my past, and I'm sure you would say the same, Kelly, again, you see a lot of similar findings. And it was always very frustrating to me because, these are always great people. Like, they came to us and they really had a strong desire to change. Like, a lot of this is honestly, it's a responsibility on my side too, for not looking deeper into this. I just went based off of what I knew at the time as far as what helped. And a lot of the times I tell people, oh, you have to keep studying, go back to the material. And now I just see things very, very differently. And some of the things that we discovered were things like, obviously lack of consistency. So people weren't doing it consistently. Unrealistic expectations. This is a big thing. And this is something we're going to get into a little bit more today when we talk about how to set the right kind of goals. One of the quotes that I love from Bill Gates, he talks about people overestimate what they can accomplish in a 12-month long period and underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. And I think we're in a society in which we want these big results very quickly. That's just the world we live in. And I think a lot of the things that you see in front of your face, whether it be on social media, you see these, easy success, effortless. And, the reality is that is not reality. That's not true. And we'll get into a lot more of that in the science and research to back that.
Well, Chris, so we saw all of these gaps, and we were able to kind of, as we were noticing these, we were kind of not really realizing it, but we were creating a list. Why are people not successful? There is this gap, right? And so we decided to bridge that gap, which is really how 30 Wins came to be, right? We wanted to bridge the gap. And it all goes back to that personalized system. You have to have a system, and it has to be personalized, and we have to meet you where you're at, because a lot of the programs that you and I have been through, and it's a lot, we added them up, and it was well over the 200s, and we've attended them, and we were in the industry, so we were able to pull things out, and we were able to apply them to ourselves, and we also had amazing mentors. And so those are some of the gaps, right? We know that we had a lot of clients that were trying to take this cookie cutter and stick themselves into that cookie cutter, and that's just not how it goes. We here at 30 Wins look at things a little differently. We meet you where you're at so that we can get you to where you want to go, and then we're able to really create action for you that's tailored directly for you, so that you can get to where you want to go. And so we take that action, 5 action steps a day, 6 days a week, so that we can really start creating momentum. We look at just right action steps, not too hard, not too easy, but something that is legitimately going to get you to where you want to go. We're not just giving you random action steps. We work with you very extensively to create that list. And then we continue to work with you to help you evaluate how that's going. We help you modify so that you are taking the right action continually, and then implement. And it's a lovely cycle. It's an amazing system that ultimately really takes you to where you want to go.
That's right. And, I always tell people success is not a secret, it's a system. And, you're going to hear us talk about this quite a bit. Your goals, when it comes to the goal, you got to have the goal, but that's not what you're going to focus on. You're going to focus on your daily systems. And, Kelly and I, in our previous environment and workplace, I remember, look, we were in this environment all the time, right? So we were out there teaching this material. We're always involved. To what Kelly talked about, we were going to seminars on a regular basis. And I promise you that the growth and the change wasn't in the information and the material. It was in the day-to-day work. There was a specific instance where internally we decided to have 6 things that our team did every single day. And it doesn't matter what the 6 things were, right? But it was that we were doing these little things every day. Every single person in that organization, every single one that was following that, their results improved dramatically. A couple got to 7 figures. Most of them were mid 6 figures. Not a single one was under 6 figures. And again, it wasn't about the things that they were doing. It was the fact that we were doing the same certain things every single day. And that's really where the 30 Wins come into play. So doing 5 things every day, 6 days a week, these aren't like huge totally new habits that you're developing. These are little things, and we're going to get a little bit more into the importance of the little wins. So going into how do you actually win your day? So number one, you got to have a clear and specific action plan. You've got to have things that you're going to commit to every day. These aren't just pulled out of the sky. These are things, behaviors that are based off of the goal that you're looking to achieve. So when Kelly was talking about how we work with you specifically and give you direction based off of the goal, this is why I always say personal development is personal. It's not a one-size-fits-all method. Ideas can fit everybody, but to build a system that matches you at an individual level takes work, and in all honesty, it takes real direction.
Well, and Chris, you're absolutely right in the sense that it is so personal here, and I love when you refer to personal development as being personal. And so when you are working on that goal, it has to be something you want, and that's why today we're going to really focus on How to set the right goal is based on you and what you want. We actually don't care what your goal is. There is a lot of science, a lot of research behind why it's important to have a goal. And we're not going to get into that specifically today, just to say that it is important to have a goal, something you're working on, and to win your day, you have to be taking action towards it every single day. And one way that here at 30 Wins, we teach you how to be able to take that effective action every single day is to optimize your environment for success. I love this topic of optimizing your environment because it's not just about making your space neat and tidy. It's not just about making your space conducive to whatever actions you're going to take. It goes so much deeper. Forecasting your environment, creating your environment, making sure your environment is conducive to good cues, not negative cues, good triggers, not negative ones. So in order to win your day, you not only have to have that specific goal you're working towards and taking that action, but you've got to be able to optimize that environment and create, so you're able to create more success.
Absolutely. And you know, one of the big things is working in your personal identity daily. You know, so I mentioned earlier about identity-based behaviors. So right now, one of the things that I'm starting to do is actually running. And anyone that knows me knows I'm not a runner. I've never been a runner. I never connected with running. You know, but I decided that it is something I'd like to go do. So a lot of the things, the behaviors that I'm doing right now, part of my daily wins, is in alignment with that identity of becoming a runner. So again, I don't want to run, I am a runner. So again, it's about the identity of the person that you're going to need to become to achieve the goal that you've got, which again is why this is so individualized and personalized.
Well, and when you're creating those habits, they become who you are. They are your identity, and the actions that you're taking each day are creating the person you are going to be, and that's the person that achieves that goal that you're working towards. And in order to sustain that motivation, you really have to know what your why is. This topic is near and dear to my heart. Because I didn't really understand why it was necessary to know that. Does it even matter? Who even cares? And when I started doing research on specifically Simon Sinek's Find Your Why, but then I went through the whole his whole facilitation process so that you could work with teams, so that you could help teams find their why. I mean, it was fascinating, and it's a very lengthy process. And I'm excited because tomorrow we're actually getting into more depth with this topic tomorrow. But to really work through any obstacles you come across during your day, to really persevere over things that you might consider failures at the time, you really do have to know that deep lying why, and really understand how you're motivated, really understand what your authentic motivation is, so that long term you're successful and you are really able to work through anything that comes your way.
And you know, you and I have talked offline, Kelly, about this. Understanding the motivation that will change your world. It'll change your life. And this is why tomorrow I'm really excited about day number 2. The day number 2 is really, again, getting at that authentic motivation and understanding the different levels of motivation. And when I started to study this, I look back on myself personally and my goals previously, because, you know, we are always taught to have the money goal, get focused on the money goal. Everyone should have the money goal. And I'm not against having a money goal, but the reality is the money itself was never a main driver for me. I think once you get to a certain level, and this is going to be different, and goes back, it's individualized, it's personalized. Being money motivated is not a bad thing. You know, in my experience, most people are not money motivated though. But they believe they have to be money motivated. So tomorrow will be an absolute life changer, especially when you go through the exercise, understanding your own personal motivations. And we get into a lesson around the different, and we're not going to go into each 11 of these. We're actually going to have a PDF that you guys can kind of go through and see what is your motivation, what inspires you to take action. And then we're going to get into utilizing different tools and techniques. A lot of what 30 Wins is all about is sharing, again, the research and the science behind what works. And there's a lot of different areas that we're going to cover, not specifically just on these 3 days. A lot of things that are just, again, so different from everything that I was taught previously and what I believe to be true. And I think you guys will find the same.
Chris, when you are utilizing the tools and techniques that we are going to provide you, it's so personal. It is not that try this, do this. It's part of our whole system of you have your 5 wins that you are working on daily, those very intentional action steps. And we evaluate how that's going with you so that we can help you modify, so that you can implement and utilize any of those tools that you might need. They're not a secret. A lot of those are out there, but it is so personalized. And one of the things that we work with clients on is you got to try things to see what works, which is why the evaluate, modify, implement is so important in our success cycle here, because we are here with you to suggest and guide and help you modify things so that it is right just for you, so that you are able to be successful long term. And so when you look at those 5 things, is it really that easy to just win your day? On the surface, yes, it is, but you have to start with that right goal. You have to start there, or else the other 4 don't matter.
I think it's easy to win your day when you have the right system in place. And that's why, again, this stuff, it sounds so easy, but it's really not. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take some time to find your system and find your way. And, again, to me, and I know this might sound a little strange, the goal to me is never the driver. It's not about the goal. You have the goal, but it's never the driver. It's what is the daily routine? Like, what's the things you got to do on a daily basis? How do you win your day? And this is why, again, if you get focused on the behaviors and the actions, the things that will lead you to the goal, that's your primary focus. And this is why when you have that in place, when you've got that goal set, you've got your system in place, you know exactly what you're going to do every single day. You're just focused on getting better consistently. Again, this goes back to being action focused, not goal focused. And I know that's very different from, a lot of what you hear in personal development. But again, this is all backed by the science and research, because I have people that say, well, I'm going to write out my goal 100 times today. And, great. But in my opinion, you just wasted that time to write your goal 100 times. Know your goal, fuse with your goal, focus on what needs to be done to achieve that goal.
Well, Chris, we very much believe here that you have to have a goal, any goal, because the research and science backs up all of the positives of why having a goal is so important, how working towards something is so important. But yes, we are very action focused, and we start on the small scale, the daily scale, right? We talk about this all the time. Win your day, win your week, win your month, you'll win your year, you'll win your life. And so we are very action focused while keeping that goal in mind. And, I love the metaphor of Mount Everest, because your goal might be to climb to the summit of Mount Everest. But before you can ever get to that final summit, right, there are 7 phases when you climb Mount Everest. 7. I didn't know that. And I think that's fascinating. So if you have a huge goal like climbing to the summit of Mount Everest, there are 7 phases. And every single phase requires something different of you. It requires different tools. It requires your body to acclimate to that, the altitude. A lot of people, their goal is just to get to base camp. And I don't say just base camp flippantly. It's actually a very difficult task to just get to base camp. And so when we talk about being goal focused, action focused, not goal focused, we do keep in mind that goal, but we scale you back to base camp. And so we use that metaphor a lot, right? What can you accomplish in the next 90 days? What's your base camp? And we're going to take you through an activity at the end of today that's going to really help you look at your base camp. Where are you at? What can we do to help you be more successful in the next 90 days to get to your goal? And so when you know what you want, you have to decide how you're going to get there. And here we talk about those tiny wins. And that's where those come in. And so why should this matter, Chris?
Well, this matters because, again, I kind of think about I love football, I love NFL. And if you listen to a lot of NFL coaches, every single one of those teams has the goal at the beginning of the year to win the Super Bowl, every single one of them. But if you listen to these coaches, they're always focused on the game, their next game. They're not focused on the Super Bowl yet. That may be the goal, right? That might be the target, but they're focused on that next game. And that's exactly what we want you guys to focus on is what are the stepping stones that are going to take you to that big goal? Because, we always talked about, and we kind of came from the thought pattern of the C-type goal, those big goals, those big goals that they scare you, they excite you. You have no idea of how you're going to do it, but it's what you really want. And, there's nothing against having that goal. You should have a big goal, something that's going to stretch you. And it does have to be something that you really want. And we're going to get a lot more into that tomorrow. But more importantly, what's the first goal that's going to get you to that goal? And it kind of goes back to that Bill Gates quote that I just read at the very beginning. We overestimate what we can achieve in a 12-month long period and underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. And that's exactly it. So the little wins compounded over time is what really is going to change your life and change your results. And I know it's not sexy. This is why a lot of personal development doesn't focus on these little micro wins. And it's because, again, sitting telling you can earn $1 billion in the next 12 months. Listen, it's more exciting, right? I mean, let's be honest, it's more exciting that success can be effortless and easy. And the reality is, look, I've had a chance to work with a lot of extremely successful people. And the reality is none of them are overnight successes. See, a lot of people, it's like looking at the iceberg. We only see the tip. We don't see all this stuff that happened underneath the surface that got them to that. And even when I see interviews with people talking about how they've been able to manifest these different things, like I was watching one the other day where, it was actually Dana White talking about, manifestation's real. He said, when you know exactly what you want, you work your butt off every day. And, this guy's still working at 8 o'clock every single night, 7 days a week. So again, they forget about the little things that it takes to get those things. So again, this is all about the little things and developing the daily discipline to build the right habits that over time are going to lead to that perfection.
And Chris, those habits change your identity, change who you are. And you and I found the science behind these small daily wins to be just fascinating. Because what we really found, and we're not going to go too in depth here, but what we really found is over time, your brain actually changes. It changes your brain. It changes the neurotransmitters, and it changes who you are. So not only do those habits change you, but it changes how you feel. It changes how you think.
That's right. And this is why, I love wins. Like I love the idea of little wins, because if you just fall in love with the idea of winning, like that's the key. Because those wins over time, you start to see yourself as a winner. You start to see yourself as a successful person. And it doesn't matter. This is the beautiful thing about this. It doesn't matter your starting point. Like when I started running, I really struggled to get to a mile. Like it was sad, but it was difficult for me. But again, it doesn't matter the starting point, right? I just consistently kept doing it. Every other day I was running, got better, kept running longer distances, so again, it's that progression rather than the perfection. And, if you want to share this one, because I think this is such a key point.
Chris, I love this graph because this doesn't even show a year, right? If you have 5 really intentional things you're doing every single day towards your goal that means something to you, that is 30 a week. That is 120 wins a month. That is over 1,500 a year towards your goal. I was fascinated by the math, just the math alone of those daily wins, not to mention the science behind how it changes your brain. I bought into it right away because you can't argue the math. You can't argue the science. It's proof that what we knew when we were looking at those gaps, how to bridge them, how to help clients be more successful, it was in those small, intentional action steps, day in and day out. It changes who you are. It changes your identity. You become the kind of person that achieves that goal. But not only that, it changes your brain. And I just find that fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
And this is why we're sharing this story. This is actually from James Clear book, Atomic Habits. It's a phenomenal book. And, he talks about the power of the tiny gains and shares the story of the British cycling team. And, the British cycling team was basically the laughing stock of the cycling world. They hadn't won in over 110 years. In fact, there was actually a bike manufacturer that refused to sell them bikes because they didn't want their bikes associated with such losers. And, they ended up bringing in a guy who basically just looked at marginal gains. Where could they make little tiny improvements? Different areas like they rubbed alcohol on the tires to get better traction. They spray painted the inside of the vans white so they could find any dust, different creams. So they did all these little things that created a huge impact over time. And they ended up winning it, what was it, 5 out of 6 years in a row, which is no one has ever even come close to doing that before.
And one of the things I love about all those changes was, yes, they were a team, and yes, they were all implementing it, but it became very personalized. So those muscle creams to speed up recovery, they all tried different ones to see what worked for them. They were given pillows and blankets and to see what worked better for them, so they had a better night's sleep. They were given different cycling pants to keep their legs warm, their muscles warm for optimal performance. So while they were all trying the same thing, it became very, very personalized. And so, in all the research that you and I did, through a lot of research, while it was the same, it became very, very personalized, because just what one cream working for you doesn't mean it's going to work good for me. And so while they were looking at the same things, it became very personalized. And that's exactly what we do here at 30 Wins.
I mean, that's the main reason why we built this, is because, again, we did have experience where we would work with clients very closely on an individual level, and we would see the transformation. Because, I think when you're working with somebody, you can really see their blind spots. I think we're all good at helping other people, but a lot of the times we're our worst enemy. And I think, again, it's what I said, success is not a secret, it's a system. And when you craft that personal system for success, then it's a game changer, because you're not wondering, what should I do? You know exactly what you should be doing. You just continue to do it and you keep getting better at it.
And so in order to win the day, the very first step is you really, really need to know what you want. You just have to. And here at 30 Wins, we don't care what you want. You just have to have a goal. And then begin working towards it. And so goal setting is actually a process. And we don't care where you start, but you do have to have a real clear vision of how you want to live your life, so that then you can start crafting it. Here we look at 3 major areas of life: your health, your wealth, and relationships. Personally, we have goals in all 3 of these. We have a company goal. Sometimes we have weekly goals, but we have goals that we're constantly working towards, so that we know the right actions to take to get to them. And so you really need to decide how you want to live your life, and decide what you need to do to get to the place where you're living that life.
That's right. And again, it goes back to the daily disciplines, doing the things that you got to do every day that matches your goal. And that's exactly what we help people do, is help develop those personalized systems that are actually get them to where they want to go. Because to your point, Kelly, again, we don't care what the goal is, right? Even when it comes to setting the goal, whether it's a big goal, small goal, who are we to judge? Your goal is what you really want. And we're going to get into this quite a bit in a much, much deeper level, because again, we do have that experience in working with this and, talking about things like financial goals, and we all have financial goals. And it's not that a financial goal is a good thing or a bad thing. If that's really what you want, great. But a lot of the times, look, we all need money. So again, a lot of the times, and this is tomorrow when we get to understand your authentic motivation, this will make a lot more sense, because again, all of these lessons are going to play in on each other. So even tomorrow, when you go through this, it might help you get more clear on what we're doing today, and vice versa. So again, but you got to have a starting point. You got to have something that you really want.
And Chris, it is a process, certainly is a process. And it's actually a process that we review here continually, because over time, it does change. As you get to know yourself more, as you start gaining successes, you change. And so where we're at is, you need to figure out where you need to start. This is a very personalized process. And so you need to even realize, do you even have that vision? And it's okay if you don't. We actually have an amazing way to help you start developing that. But if you do have your vision clear, maybe you don't know what goals you need to achieve to get there. And maybe you do have a vision, maybe you do have a specific goal, but maybe you are just not making enough progress. And so right now, we're going to ask you figure out where you're going to start, because it is a process. Because before we can ever take you into effective action, you got to know those things. Because here at 30 Wins, we are focused on the way, and the goal is the what. There's the why, but we are solely focused on the way. So we have to take you through that process to get you to what the way is.
That's right. And I think this is one of the things that most people leave out is, well, how am I going to achieve the goal, the way? And again, you hear a lot of different things in personal development. You just need to know what you want and why you want it. You don't need to know the how. The truth is you need to know the how. You got to choose a how, because you got to get to work on it right away, because working on the way will lead you to another way. And that way might not be the end all be all, but the more you do this, the more you're going to see your way to get things done. And this is now leading into your action step for today. So some of you may have already gone through this. We have created it's basically an AI coach that works along with you, that we have specifically programmed on the back end to give it certain directives to take you down a process to help you guys get very clear on your vision, get clear on a goal, a short-term goal. So a 90-day snapshot, right? And then we're going to give you some action steps, some suggested action steps. Now, when you go through this, I want you to really think of this like it's a real person. So like, let's say, for example, it starts to give you some action steps that are too difficult for you. It's beyond your skill set. Ask it a question. Say, hey, these are a little bit complex. Do you have any other suggestions? Or the flip side, if it's too easy for you, it's too basic. Hey, I'm already, pretty advanced at this. I know this. Can you give me some other suggestions? And it will give you feedback. So the whole point is this AI coach won't do it for you. It will help you get clear and give you ideas, give you suggestions. And I personally think this is an absolute game changer, because I think, like I said earlier, I think the biggest thing that most people are missing in this industry, that's the gap between success and failure, is direction. They're not getting any direction on things they should be doing. And going back to what Kelly said, the why or the way is the key. You got to find your way. And each time you take that step, it'll lead you to the next step. So go ahead, get started on that. Tomorrow is a big, big day. Like I said earlier, tomorrow I think is the key. It is understanding your personal authentic motivation. So we'll dive into that a little bit deeper. Anything you want to share before we go, Kelly?
No, I really encourage anyone out there that might be a little hesitant to be working with AI. Maybe they've never worked with AI. We are going to send you an email with a link. I really encourage you to click on the link and just start working through the process, answering some questions, being as honest and as detailed as you can to try it out. I think you'll be surprised how easy it is and the lovely feedback it provides you. There will also be a link in the Facebook page for you to click on that as well. But what it'll really do ultimately is help you become more clear. It is really important to continually evaluate where you're at and where you want to go, so that you really can take the right action. And the more you put into this today will really help you understand where we're taking you tomorrow, which is really delving deeper into your why and your authentic motivation, so that you can really be successful long term. And so just take a few minutes, click on that link. Don't be afraid of AI. It is a lovely little addition that we are really excited to have as part of our program. And take the time, go through it. You won't be disappointed.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining today. We will see you tomorrow. Make sure to do your homework. See ya.